Here are 10 more tips and techniques that I picked up from my time in culinary school and 15 years of professional restaurant experience that will elevate your everyday cooking and that you can start doing immediately. Now, while these may seem basic, the best chefs in the world always preach the importance of mastering the fundamentals to perfect the art of cooking, starting with dry brining your protein. Whether it's beef, pork, chicken, or some fish, this will greatly enhance the flavor, texture, and juiciness. It's the simple process of salting your food ahead of time and then letting it rest for 4 and all the way up to 48 hours, depending on the size of your meat before cooking it. Now, this procedure allows for the salt to penetrate deeper into the protein as it sits so that every single bite is delicious and perfectly seasoned. And in addition to making everything so much more tender and juicy, it also will help create a better Maillard crust when searing, which we'll get to in a few minutes. But first, number 2, using spoons to add sauce to your food. When serving food, nothing drove my chefs more nuts than watching a line cook just dump sauce over a cooked piece of meat right from the pan. Take some pride in what you're serving and push to perfect the craft by showing just a little bit of love by ensuring you are serving up beautiful food. Use a spoon. It's as simple as that. Spoon that beautiful butter or brown sauce over your food. Remember, we first eat with our eyes before tasting. I was always taught to take the extra 10 seconds to make food absolutely gorgeous, and it starts with spooning your sauces. Number 3, make your own stock. You would not believe how significantly better homemade stock will make your food, and it doesn't need to be overly difficult. It can often be dang near free. If you do a good job of saving your vegetable scraps, chicken or beef bones, until you've accumulated enough to make it, you've got a very inexpensive, beautiful addition to your soups, stews, braising liquids, and sauces. This will far supersede anything you're gonna buy pre-made in the store, I promise you. Yes, it requires some more of your time, but anything worth doing and worth doing well takes some time and love. All right, number 4, knowing how to properly dress a salad. Instead of just pouring the dressing right on top of the greens, there's a better, easier, more delicate way to ensure every leafy green and vegetable is perfectly dressed. No matter the type of dressing you're using, spoon or pour some of it to the outside of the bowl. That's right, the outside. Then using some tongs, just fold the ingredients over, and as you do so, they'll gently brush against the dressing, coating it. It's not soggy and overdressed, and you won't be begging for more. I learned this procedure over 15 years ago from a really great chef, and it has proven to work perfectly every single time. You have to try it, you'll love it. All right, next up, learn how to make a pan sauce. Now, this is hands down the quickest procedure you can do to make whatever it is you're cooking immediately taste better. While a seared piece of fish, beef, chicken, or pork can be tasty, it's boring. It's just begging to be served up with something. Once the meat is seared, add in some goodies like shallots, garlic, and butter. Also, don't forget the fresh herbs. Quickly brown them, deglaze with wine or liquor. If it's meat, hit it with a good stock. If it's fish or chicken, add some more butter and lemon. Season it up, and boom, you've got the perfect marriage, meat and sauce. It's a beautiful thing. And for some reason, if the sauce breaks, I'll show you how to fix it. But first, use a whole chicken. So many times, we just buy the breasts or only thighs and drums. Now, if you want the best bang for your buck and you want to hone those meat fabrication skills, buy a whole chicken. Not only are you getting the breasts, thighs, and drums and wings, and for a better price, but you're also getting the carcass, which is the main ingredient in a homemade chicken stock. Freeze them until you get about 4 or 5, and then it's stock making day. A whole chicken costs between $10 and $12, while just 2 chicken breasts can cost that much alone. Do not skip this one. Honestly, I almost only buy whole chickens these days. All right, let's talk about fixing that broken sauce. Nothing more beautiful than a silky sauce, and trust me, there's nothing more frustrating than an oily, separated, broken one. This usually happens when the sauce is cooked for too long at too high of heat. Quick fixes: if it's a stock-based sauce, add in a bit more stock or even water. It will replace what evaporated and bring the fat back in to emulsify. Now, if it's a butter or cream-based sauce, Water can also work, but cold cream is almost always a surefire winner to bring it back without diluting any of the flavor. Next up, using herbs, and not just the leaves, but the stems when they're tender. You won't believe how much flavor are in those herb stems. When they are firm and woody, save those in the freezer and add them to stock, sauces, or soups. Now, if they are tender and soft, you can and should absolutely finely mince those up with the herb leaves and use them in your dishes. Whether it's used as a garnish or you're enhancing your food with it, the stems are fair game. Make your money at the grocery store work way harder for you by utilizing this easy technique. Next, and probably one of the most important, is properly searing protein. Everyone covets that perfectly seared piece of meat, whether it's chicken, beef, or pork. That brown crust, it's also known as Maillard, which is a chemical reaction where the sugars and proteins reduce. It gives you that beautiful color and a whole lot more flavor. If you just place meat in a hot pan with oil, you can almost always get the outside edges brown while the center is lacking. Well, here's a technique I learned years ago that will brown the entire side, and it won't need to be pressed down, forcing moisture and juices to leave the piece of meat. After 1 to 2 minutes of searing, spend the next 30 to 45 seconds moving the meat in a circular motion around the pan. I know it seems stupid and too easy to be true, but the end result, trust me, could not be more glorious. Don't be scared of the flavor. This is an easy way to get it. Alrighty, last but not least, buy the best ingredients that you can afford. Never in the history of working in restaurants do chefs ever look to buy the cheapest product just because it's the cheapest. Chefs never want to sacrifice a final dish because they wanted to save a few pennies. They're looking to buy the best ingredients that they can afford because often it's the freshest, ripest, and always produces the most flavor. And of course, there are certainly things that are inexpensive because perhaps it's a certain cut of meat, or there's just an abundance of one ingredient. However, when you couple them with mastered fundamental cooking techniques, the end result is always superb. And there you go, 10 more easy tips and techniques that will instantly make you a better cook. They just require a little bit of attention to detail. And as always, use what you have and what you can afford. Couple that with those techniques, you will always be able to make beautiful food. Now, if you want to put some of these techniques into practice, you have to check out my chicken fricassee recipe video. It is awesome. I'll see you on there.